BTS dropped their fifth studio album named Arirang on March 20th, 2026, and as someone with A-levels in both English literature and sociology, I was ultimately fascinated by the lyricism and organisation of the third song titled Aliens. I couldn't hold back, so here is a detailed essay regarding my personal analysis of the track. Before we even get to Sugar's opening lines, the title of this track demands our attention. On a surface level, the term aliens conjures a familiar image of extraterrestrial beings like little green men, the unknown from outer space. But the dictionary definition is far less direct, and an alien is actually defined as something foreign or unfamiliar. And in the United States, that word carries an even heavier clinical weight. Under US immigration law, the term alien is the legal designation for a non-citizen. It's ultimately a bureaucratic label that aims to dehumanize and stigmatize a person's entire existence. In recent years, that term has become weaponized. From official White House press conferences
any illegal alien
to the news, the term has been deliberately used to paint non-Westerners as intruders. So, when BTS titles their track Aliens, it's clear the context speaks for itself. They are purposefully invoking this loaded, politicized definition. The question therefore becomes, what do you do when the world calls you an alien? And Sugar's opening lines offer an answer.
지루하고 따분해 모든 게 시간은 참 빨라 틱탁 스타일을 힙합 도대체 뭘 더 고민해 태생부터 다른 seven aliens 우리 부러워하는 저 civilians 굳이 설명하기 힙합 스타일을 힙합 도대체 뭘 더 고민해.
On the surface, the lines "gather up at the stadium, what more on earth are you worrying about?" appear to be Sugar establishing an assertive and confident tone. However, my immediate thoughts regarding these lines brought me back to 2025, in which Bad Bunny took the Super Bowl halftime stage, which for millions should have been a celebratory moment. However, it instead ignited a slew of political identity debates. These attacks were not based on facts, but rather narrow and incorrect definitions of what it meant to be American. Now, it may seem like I'm reaching by projecting a Western controversy onto Korean lyrics. However, here is the crucial link.
There's a hope that maybe you'll land your ship at the Super Bowl next year. I'm wondering how you guys feel about that. For some reason, after Bad Bunny is, of course, American.
It was so cool.
And it was so amazing. But I think the idea of a non-English language Super Bowl halftime show, suddenly people were thinking, well, why not BTS? So,
and Bad Bunny, he was amazing. And I know he's from Puerto Rico, and he's also an American. So I think there was kind of context between all of that and the flow of the everythings.
Here, RM doesn't dismiss or simplify the situation. He instead acknowledges the nuances, and this single statement alone is an entry into my interpretation. Here, BTS have proven they are fully aware of the messy and blurred lines between language, nationality and belonging that Bad Bunny's performance exposed. To me, Sugar's lines here allude to this, as he outright commands the audience to gather at the stadium and not hesitate. Stadiums are places that embody togetherness and fun, whether that be for sports or music. They are not an invitation for hate-fueled political debates. People should not be hesitating to gather up just because of perceived cultural differences. I would be wasting my breath explaining it. Further emphasises the foolishness and the subjectivity of those people that do hesitate on such baseless grounds. I also want to point out Sugar's purposeful word choice here to continue this thematic concept. He uses the idiom, "What on earth are you worrying about?" Now, this phrase is so embedded in casual speech that its original meaning is often overlooked, and the word earth specifically ties back into the literal imagery of aliens. So by placing it into a song titled Aliens, within a verse already riddled with resistance against discrimination, he reactivates the original meaning, reminding the audience that despite being labelled as foreign aliens, we are all still on the same earth and should remain grounded in that truth. It's notable that throughout the track, BTS refer to themselves as aliens, and instead of rejecting the label, they attempt to destigmatize it by simply accepting it. This is known as an act of linguistic reclamation, a way to strip a term of its dehumanizing power. This strategy isn't unique to them, as marginalized communities have long reclaimed derogatory labels as a means of resistance. For example, the LGBTQIA+ community and the Black community. By willingly wearing the alien moniker, they transform it from a weapon of exclusion into a badge of solidarity, and as a result, this song starts off with strong possible allusions to the current state of the world, where belonging is contingent not on a legal status, but rather on subjective and often discriminatory perceptions of who fits in.
Oh my god, do I look too funny? Just move for me, yeah, move for me.
After Sugar's intro, we are kicked into the start of the hook, begun by J-Hope, who carries on this theme. He commands the audience to move, introducing himself as your new honey. The specific mentioning of a Jungmori rhythm from J-Hope is significant, as it's used to highlight the fact that great music can be proudly Korean. He boasts about this traditional rhythm layered into the track, making deliberate references to traditional Korean cultural heritage. And now it may not come as a surprise, but I'm not very well versed in the true meaning of a Jungmori rhythm, so I'll play this clip for anyone interested.
Okay, so Jungmori is a 12-beat rhythmic cycle. You can think of it like 4 bars of 3/4, so 1 2 3 2 2 3 3 2 3 4 2 3. It's kind of like a moderate tempo between 72 to like 108. It's supposed to be like a walking tempo, not too fast, not too slow.
The line, "Do I look too funny," as I've interpreted it, can refer to the way in which many mock East Asians for their facial differences, so J-Hope takes control of this distorted narrative as he passively-aggressively redirects the question back to the listeners. He doesn't care to answer it himself because it's a rhetorical question, designed to reiterate a point rather than invite an actual response. His final line reads, "What are you going to do about it? Just move for me, yeah, move for me." And the implication here is clear. Hate is an empty threat. His delivery and tonality is passive yet pushy, making it obvious that he knows people who make racist claims lack the backbone to follow through when confronted. Overall, it's a short yet spicy punch of a verse, delivered sardonically, a stark contrast to Sugar's more stoic aggression. In addition, I have to point out the lyrical intelligence to rhyme the 2-syllable Korean word Jungmori to 2 single-syllable English words, new honey and too funny. This rhythmic pattern is common within BTS's lyrics as they often utilize their multilingualism, rhyming Korean syllables to English ones.
From the gutter to the heart, or the river, river, now, yeah, we A-list. If you wanna hit the house, you better miss a line, yeah, we A-list.
The hook follows through then with the vocal line, and what stands out to me immediately is the fact that they could have said "from A to Z," which is a more globally recognised phrase. Instead, they purposefully integrate the Korean alphabet and the Korean language, sticking to their native tongue, rather than altering it for a foreign audience. The lyrics then go on to reference a well-known Asian custom which many have gone on to point out, removing your shoes before entering a house, as it's considered disrespectful to do so otherwise.
You all wearing slippers? What's
Yes.
Yeah, slipper.
We're to somebody's house. We have to wear slippers. Take your shoes off, like. Korean culture. Yeah.
Not many people are aware, but this is actually not a specific custom to South Korea, but is also a cultural norm across the entire Asian continent, with countries like Japan and India sharing the belief. So by making reference to it, they reinforce their culture in a protective and snarky manner. BTS point out here that the sun rises in the east, where the continent of Asia, specifically South Korea, is located on the map. Many may interpret this as BTS emphasizing Korea's power, using the ideology of the sun to represent such power, beginning in their homeland. But the line "in the east the sun is rising" is also a genius and deliberate subversion of the colonial boast that you may have heard before. The sun never sets on the British Empire. This quote, originating from the late 1700s, was used to describe the vastness of the British colonial rule at its peak, an empire so expansive that it spanned multiple time zones, meaning that there was always one territory in daylight. The phrase implied that the West was omnipresent and the most powerful. Here, BTS reclaims this imagery by boasting that the sun doesn't just linger in the East, but it also rises there, a firm declaration that the East aren't as powerless as history paints it out to be. The creator of Dulcet points out a particular interview by L. Paris for RM in 2023, where he highlights the reasons behind such determination and effort displayed by the lyrics, doing everything faster, pulling all-nighters every day. RM is asked, "The cult of youth, of perfection, of overachievement in K-pop, are these Korean cultural traits?" To which he answers, "In the West, people just don't get it. Korea is a country that has been invaded, razed to the ground, torn in two. Just 70 years ago there was nothing. We were getting aid from the IMF and the UN, but now the whole world is looking at Korea. How is that possible? How did that happen? Well, because people are trying so fucking hard to better themselves. You are in France or the UK, countries that have been colonizing others for centuries, and you come to me with, oh my god, you put so much pressure on yourselves. Life in Korea is so stressful." Well, yes, that's how you get things done, and it's part of what makes K-pop so appealing, although of course there's a dark side. Anything that happens too fast and too intensely has side effects.
It goes, let me honey talk about the business. Everybody know now where the K is. 어디까지 가니 이런 제길 저주하니 아직 흉측대길 빠른 기구생님 tell me how you feel. 영원 또 나밖에 못해봐 that is how we kill. 눈만 더 허벌하게 큰 너희가 말하길. Are they for real? For real?
Finally, we are onto RM's verse, the one that I would argue is the most direct in thematically addressing the alien concept. He states everybody now know where the K is, and the letter K here is obviously used to refer to Korea, which RM frequently gestures during his verse. The line is ultimately an acknowledgement of Korea's recent growth and success, insinuating that BTS themselves had a part to play in that, which is undoubtedly true to an extent. In the Arirang studio notes, during their discussion of the track Aliens, RM states the following.
부산간에 한국의 위상이 엄청 높아져가지고 뭔가
멋있어요.
막 한식도 갑자기 막 너무 잘
봄되고
이제 진짜 사우스인지 노스인지 안 물어보더라고요.
맞아.
그게 난 너무 감동적이었어요.
오히려 물어보
Afterwards, RM does what he does best and name drops a certain individual. For this line, I'm going to be referring mostly to the notes made on the Dulcet website, so credit to them. Mr. Kim Koo was born in 1876 and died in 1949 at the age of 73 years old. He was a Korean independence activist, most known for being involved in the movement against the Japanese Empire and for his role as head of the Korean Provisional Government. He is revered as one of the greatest figures in Korean history, so by mentioning him specifically, RM highlights Korea's power not only against the West but also parts of the East, showcasing their holistic and collective power. The line specifically asks Mr. Kim how he feels, likely referring to the fact that the historical figure would be proud that Korea has come this far. It's also important to note that this isn't RM's first time mentioning Mr. Kim. During BTS's acceptance speech of a daesang at the E-Daily Cultural Awards in 2019, RM quoted from Diary of Kim Koo, an autobiography.
이런 말이 가장 생각에 먼저 나더라고요. 김구 선생님이 하셨던 오직 갖고 싶은 것은 높은 문화의 힘이라고 하셨던 말씀이 가장 기억에 남는데요.
From what I've deduced from my research, the direct quote from the book is actually, "The only thing that I desire in infinite quantity is the power of a highly developed culture." However, RM simplified it for the sake of his speech, paraphrasing the sentiment rather than stating it verbatim, but it conveys the same meaning nonetheless. I'm the only one who speaks English, but that is how we kill. This line is clearly a jab at the fact that English is the most spoken language across the world, and despite only one member of BTS speaking fluent English, they've still managed to cultivate a mass following from around the globe. RM has actually stated before that he takes pride in the fact that BTS has received so much love despite him being the only member fluent in English. And he ends the verse with, "You say with those ridiculously big eyes, are they for real, for real?" This mirrors J-Hope's approach almost exactly, as they both use rhetorical questions to throw the mockery back at their oppressors. RM again subverts the narrative, as East Asians are often mocked for their quote-unquote smaller eyes, so he instead pokes fun at the oppressors for their ridiculously big eyes. It's notable that he doesn't deflect from the stereotype, he just reverses its entire premise, forcing the listener to confront their own absurdity. There are multiple interpretations for the final verse of the track. Starting off, many have pointed out the way in which the members pronounce 1, 2 at the start of each line, as it sounds aggressive, alike to spitting sounds. This ties back into the aggressive and defensive nature of the lyrics, as they employ onomatopoeia through pronunciation. The collective chant is ultimately layered, forming further brute tones. Now I have to touch on the verb usages in this verse as well. Both the verbs land and stamp are used in an ambiguous manner, leaving the true meaning up to interpretation. From what I've gathered, "Yeah, we land on it" could playfully infer the narrative that BTS are 7 aliens who have landed on Earth. However, it could also be a powerful assertion that they've arrived and they're not here to play. The verb stamp is a bit more complex to unpack. Not only is stamp a physical verb, but also a legal action. In many countries, an official stamp/seal is what makes a document legally binding. For immigrants in this context, that stamp can determine whether a person is allowed to exist in a country. By using this imagery, BTS assert that they decide when to put a stamp on it as a way of reclaiming power back. However, stamp as a physical action is also a plausible interpretation in this context, as the act is aggressive, often done when fighting, which again ties back into the forceful, scathing lyrics. So in conclusion, I think that the track Aliens is yet another genius and loaded song by BTS. I did want to make a section in this video to discuss the demo track that we got to hear in the Netflix doco, in which the lyrics were different and the title was actually Endless instead of Aliens, but then we'd be here all day. Anyways, thanks for watching, and let me know if you agree or disagree with any of my interpretations.
With that big eyes, come on.
Come on.